not still 13, on Killshire. Headed to Toulouse at Scotland on Sunday. Been a long time coming, but you're back home this weekend. Picture's looking well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. You say we've not had a home game. I think coming on 6 weeks now, and it's always good to be at home and prepare for a home game. And obviously, another factor is we've not played Toulouse at home for 3 games. In terms of we've been to Toulouse 3 times in a row before they've been here, so it'd be good to get them on English soil and have a real crack at them.
And another full-time team. Obviously played London last week, who are as well. Tough period, kicked off with back-to-back full-time teams. How are you going to approach it?
Oh, look, I think we're talking about resources and full-time and part-time. I think obviously we're struggling to compete with some part-time teams off the field. Some of the the necessities that the team need, we don't have this year. Our problems have been well documented. The lads have only got 1 set of training kit. We don't have supplements. So if you're comparing us to full-time teams, we're pretty much at the bottom of the breadline, against part-time teams. But look, we've had backs to the wall in the past. The last 2 years we've been wrote off, and we've been not as well resourced as other clubs, and we've achieved, and we're still fighting now. So it doesn't matter if they're full time or part time. We'll prepare every week and to give it our best shot, and the players are certainly united behind that. We've had a lot of adversity, and like I say, some of those necessities we don't have that other clubs do have. Some of those luxuries we definitely don't have, but each and every week we prepare well, and we go out to give it our best game.
Some people don't necessarily realise the gap between even ourselves and the likes of Sheffield, who sit a place above us, and then Dewsbury again. Then you'll cut back there. When you compare Rochdale, it's them teams what they have. It must be frustrating, sort of week in, week out. You're the one that fronts up every week, and you're responsible for the results, I suppose.
Look, we've punched above our weight for the last 2 seasons. When we was in League One, there was a lot of teams who were paying a lot more than us, and sometimes you don't always have to have a high performance budget to have a high performance team, but there are things, certain things that you do need, and what big budgets bring, and or bigger budgets, experienced players, more depth in the squad, and obviously we've seen a lot of players leave that we didn't want to see leave, and we've had to make some very hard decisions on players and staff who've left over the last 2 seasons, due to the restrictions that we've been under. And like you say, those teams that you mentioned, the majority of them own their own ground, and they have a big supporter base and a big network, sponsors to go at. And like you say, we have underperformed, off the field, for whatever reason. I know sponsors, obviously the big ones, TBA, with them going bust, and things like that have happened, and they have had an effect on us. But like you say, we're still fighting, and we're not using these excuses, and we don't want pity. Week in, week out, we're aiming to compete, and look, we're still in the fight. For everything that's happened and the things you mentioned, those other clubs, we're still in the fight, and we'll be fighting all the way.
And talking about some of the the restrictions you face this year, there's an AGM coming up. People have been invited to sort of throw the hat in the ring, take over, take a bit of charge, a bit of accountability for the club that they support. Are you hoping for some big changes, or what, in your view as a coach, what's needed?
I think what's needed is some stability. It's my 3rd season as a coach, and we've had 4 different CEOs. There's been a lot of turnover. It'd be good to get a board in place and a plan for the club on and off the field, and something that we can stick to and progress. I've touched on it before, we've had to make some really difficult financial decisions on players, and we've seen some players go, we've seen some players go for better, deals at other clubs, and we've seen players go to some of our rivals as well. So like I say, if we can get those resources, the little things that I touched on, kit for the players, the supplements, the facilities, get all that stuff in place off the field, and thriving again, it's all going to have a real good impact on the field. And it's a chicken and egg, but with some finance and some we've got one probably full-time member of staff at the club, off the field, and commercial and marketing. We need some direction and some support off the field in that, and some investment into that. And with that, I think the crowds will get bigger, and we'll get more finance to put into the team, and to develop the squad, and a better team for pushing up the league. And that's my hope as a coach, and hopefully those things will happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's the first step.
On Toulouse Sunday, they got a rare home defeat last week at the hands of Lee. Narrow defeat as well. Are you hoping a bit of fatigue after that, or?
Yeah, maybe a bit of fatigue. Hopefully they'll come here a little bit flat mentally. Look, they're a good side. They could hold their own in Super League. Let's make no bones about that. And they've beaten some good sides this year as well. Including London. I think they ran Toronto close, on their own patch, and they picked up some good results on the road this year, and they've looked to rectify that away form. So we know the size of the task. We're more just focused on our performance this week and the next few weeks, and getting some consistency, and we've been barking on about it for some time now. It's a really young team, a really youthful lineup, on the weekend, and hopefully that'll bring enthusiasm and that eagerness and that enjoyment to play.
And you spoke about it after the Barra game, the story of the season being one step forward, two steps back. How do you sort of start, buck the trend, if you will, and like you said, build consistency? How does it start?
I think it starts with the players and their habits. The habits will make or break them away from training more than anything. Training has to be a certain standard, and that consistency. And I suppose the consistency we haven't got as much this year is because of this 1 week we put one side out, and the injuries we've had, or not had a dual reg player here or there. With that small squad, it has been difficult to get that consistency. If we can start getting some consistency in terms of the teams we put out, then I'm sure that the next stage will be to put that consistent performance together. I think for now it's important that we build that going into the Shield. It's important that we settle on a spine of the team, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of a good run injury wise, and we can start putting some performances together and really build for the Shield, and hopefully pick up a couple of wins before then that will put us in a good position going into the back end.
Yeah, and there's a couple of new faces arrived. Obviously Joe Fox signed after a successful trial. Got Joe Ryan in on debut at weekend, and Will Calcott from Halifax. How do you see them fitting in?
Yeah, Jack's had a couple of games now and he's gone well. Prefer him in the centre, although he played on the wing last week. Joe's been with us for about a month now, and he was just probably lacking a little bit of sharpness, a bit of match fitness. Coming when he come from Workington, and Will's a big size, and all three of them again, they're young, they're enthusiastic. They're not the finished article, but expose them to Championship rugby. Hopefully we can develop them further, and hopefully they can add something to the group. Obviously we've seen a lot of players go, and been a big turnover of players, so it was important to bring these guys in.